Are we on air? Goodness gracious me, I was just caught up in the moment there, guys. Welcome. It is, by the time this goes to air, I don't know, it's going to be, about a couple of hours away from the all-important Thursday night selection, and it is a Saturday game. So we're going to get the exact 22. There'll be no extended bench. We're going to know who's in and who's out, and that is bloody interesting this time of year because we've got plenty of blokes knocking on the door. And the competition for spots, the Carlton Football Club is really heating up, and selection night is huge. It is huge. And I'll get to that maybe a little bit later because for the Crows, it's pretty interesting as well. This is a Saturday night game at the Adelaide Oval. 27 start, I think it may be, or 25 past 7. And we are going head-to-head, okay, with the Geelong v Western Bulldogs game at the Category. The Category or the Cattery? The Cattery, not the Category, and that's a free-to-air game on Channel 7. So we're on the old Fox, all right, so get your KO subscriptions in, guys, unless you're going to make the trip over there in the car or on the plane. It's not that far away, Adelaide from Melbourne. But I'll be watching this one in the lounge room. I'll be watching the Fox footy crew just do some magnificent work, potentially a wash-away Dwayne Russell in commentary, or a Hutto, or a Howie, or even a Kelly Underwood. And imagine if we get Mark Rashudo on the boundary over there. That will be interesting. And I've got a feeling it might be a Doomy. Could be a Doomy on specials. Yeah, I like a good Doomy on specials. Anyway, all eyes will be, I think, on the Geelong and Western Bulldogs game. There's no doubt about that one. That seems to have a fair bit more mayo on it than this one. So all the neutrals will be on free-to-air, and just the Carlton and Adelaide supporters who are not travelling, will watch this one on Foxtel. So the eyes of the football world will not be watching us. Although I will tell you something, and you've been there, done that. If you've got both, you've got the free-to-air, and you've also got the KO or the Foxtel, and you're in the same scenario on a Saturday night, and there's two games going head-to-head, you're always, as a neutral, and if your team's not playing, you always, as a neutral, generally go to, the number one game, the one, with more, as I mentioned before, more mayo on it. And that's the one usually on Channel 7, not always. So you choose that one. And the other one, like this one, when you look at it, what are we, 7th and the Crows are 15th or 16th or whatever they are. They've only notched up 5 wins for the season. No one really, other than seeing us slip up, no one else really gives a shit about this game other than seeing us fucking fall over. But when you get that little icon score update down in the corner, you're watching the Geelong Western Bulldogs game on Channel 7, and down on the right-hand corner there, you see the score updates. You'll see the score updates from the Adelaide Carlton game. I'll tell you what, it's halfway through that third quarter, and the Crows have either stormed back and they've hit the lead, or they're 3 or 4 goals up. Woo-hoo! You watch sites. Those neutrals, switch the channel to see an upset. Fuck, they'll be quick to get across and watch us fall. Okay? And you know what? It's not going to happen. All right? It's not going to happen. We need to be confident with this game. I'm sorry about the cheeky thumbnail. Okay? I am well and truly over the past. I like to reference it a lot. I do like to reference, but that was a dark day for the football club, and one of the lowest days in the last decade or so was when we carried Bryce Baggers Gibbs off the ground in his last ever game. That will go down in history as a hideous moment. And the reason why I put that up there, and really it's got no bearing at all on our game against Adelaide, because we beat them convincingly last year, and we beat them convincingly in round 7 by 48 points. And at one stage in that game, we were up by 10 goals. And I got a couple of junkies late in that game. But the reason why I put that image up there, and there'll be around about, I calculated it'd be around about 13 or 14 players from that game back in, what was it, round 20 of that year, who will play in this game on Saturday night, who were there in that photo. So obviously you had Gibbs being carried off by Murph and Simpson. And Cripps was the captain. Was he the sole captain then? Although Doherty was captain, was he out with his knee injury or was he playing in 220? I think he was back by then, wasn't he? Anyway, all the other players are there clapping. They look like they're clapping. Look at the image, and I've circled Cripper, and he doesn't look impressed. He's the only one who doesn't fucking look impressed. And I got thinking about how far really, and how far at that stage did he maybe think, fuck this joint. Fuck this joint. Am I wasting my time here? Am I really wasting my time putting up with this shit? And it must be great now. It must be great for him to sign that long-term contract last year, whenever he signed it, and commit to the club. And to see it turn around, to see all the hard work that they've put in over the last 12 months, to see it turn around. And I know I can be a bit of a Debbie Downer, and I know there's someone who's starting to call me that on here, and I don't care. Call me what you like. But I honestly think we're building some sustainability. And I know I'm going to ride this team really hard this year based on the fact that I think they are capable. And if they think they are capable, then fucking why not? Okay, so I want to know why not if we don't, do some damage. And I'll ride this team. But deep down, I can see what Voss is building. I can really see it. And that is around being I don't know about a power. That's what they want to do, is become a powerhouse. But we're going to be there and thereabouts, I think, for a long period of time. And to see that image of Cripper standing there only 2 years ago on that day with his fucking hands on his hips looking at that shit that went on that day, to see where we are now on the verge of playing finals football, exactly the same time of the year, playing Adelaide again, who've got a lot of players who played that day, and to go there at the Adelaide Oval with I consider now a completely different philosophy, a different culture, it sort of gives me a lot of pleasure, and I'm sure it must give Patrick Cripps and that group a lot of pleasure and a lot of hard work still to be done, but they can see it turning. They can see it gradually starting to turn. I know I've been fairly flippant, of recent times in regards to these previews, talking about the fact that I'm clearly thinking about the Gabba, Brisbane, in, 10 days' time or whatever that is, and what have we got then? The D's, and then Collingwood. They're just like mouth-watering. And I'm almost saying, what can we possibly learn about the Giants game and the Adelaide game this week? And on reflection, I like to reflect. On reflection, we're gonna learn a bit this weekend, because the more I think about this game, and I think I'm confident we will win. But I don't think it's going to be as easy as I thought post the Geelong game, where I just thought we're going to wipe the floor clean with both of these teams over the next fortnight and then be ready to go against Brisbane. I think there are going to be some challenges, and I think over the course of the night we might have a few toothaches along the way. And I feel confident that we'll always get the job done, as long as that margin, they don't get a jump on us, or we just haven't shown up. But if it's close, like it was in the first half against the Giants last week, I think I feel confident that we will do enough in this game if we play the way we want to play, that we will have enough to win this game and get out of there with the 4 points. But I think it should be a real challenge. It should be a round challenge and potentially a bloody really good game of football. And I like Matthew Nicks. I like their coach. And it feels like for them a little bit like it's going to be a long rebuild. And I don't know, that maybe they remind me a little bit of us and what we went through. But I really like Matthew Nicks. I really do. And I think he's got them playing a pretty competitive brand of football. And 5 wins for the season, 16th on the ladder, the 7th, and you think competitive. I don't think they're as bad as the ladder position suggests, although they aren't great. They aren't great. They've only won one out of their last 5, which was a win against North Melbourne in Hobart, and that was a bloody good win, 57 points. That was a good win. I actually watched that game, and I haven't watched a hell of a lot of them since, although I did catch the Sydney game. They haven't been what you would call blown away in that time, and they've had some looks in those games. And this is what these types of teams that are clearly developing have got some talent, and they've got some talent that we don't know a lot about. And there will be, rest assured, you will leave this game, win, lose or draw, you will lose this game going, shit, that kid can play for Adelaide. Shit, that kid gave us a hard time. Oh, they've got a beauty there. I didn't know a lot about him. He got under our guard. I don't know who it's going to be, but rest assured there will be someone. They'll have the usual suspects, okay, which will possibly cause some headaches, and consistent footballers always do, and they've got some really consistent footballers in their team. But they've got someone that we don't know a lot about, okay? Now, whether that's through the midfield or whether that's, up forward or across the centre line or down back, there will be someone that will go, gee, shit, he's all right. Okay, he did okay on us. So I don't think we can take them too lightly. And the thing that I suppose, looking at my Blue Heaven stats book, they do some things. There's a contrasting way in which these two teams play. On a really simplistic level, we've changed over the last 12 months. And it's a new coach. New coaching committee came in, changed the way we wanted to play. Let's fix up our defence. And the fact, okay, I brought this stat out, the fact that we are only now one of two teams in the competition who have not let the opposition score this century this year is quite amazing. Considering us, and I think it's Fremantle. Is that right, or is it Geelong? Or is it Fremantle? Okay, I think the Cats may have had 100 kicked on them against Port last week. I might be wrong. Anyway, I think it's only us and Fremantle haven't had 100 scored against them this year, which is amazing for us. Now, part of our game plan, okay, just watching it this year, is trying to retain the ball and protect our back 6 or 7. Okay, the longer we have the ball, okay, in our hands, we don't necessarily go quick unless we win the ball from the centre. We retain it, keep hold of it, okay, not give it back to the opposition. All right, we are the number 1 disposal team in the competition. In fact, we average 70 or 80 more disposals a game than Adelaide. I think they're ranked number 11 in the comp for disposals. This is an amazing turnaround in 12 months. All right, we've gone from number 1 this year. We've gone from number 18 last year under David Teague to number 1 in the comp for disposals. Okay, so it's basically, as far as I'm concerned, it's a game of keeping DOS. Okay, so let's control the tempo of the game in the back half. If we lose the clearance, okay, we can intercept. All right, this is why I think McGovern becomes exceptionally important for us. And then it's about, okay, And this is where we struggled, I think, against the better teams, and I'm talking about Geelong. And we're going to find out against Brisbane. We're going to find out against Melbourne. Is when we pull the trigger. So when are we prepared to pull the trigger? Okay, are we going to then be, I suppose, bold with our ball movement and aggressive with our ball movement? Or are we going to be a little bit slower or, turn over in dangerous spots? Because as far as I see, one of our big issues has been our ball use when we want to control the tempo under pressure. So we haven't been allowed to control the tempo, and then under pressure we turn the ball over. And it's not necessarily that our skills have been poor, it's just that we haven't been able to execute the skill under pressure. Okay, and we know one of the real strengths, of the Adelaide Crows is two of their halfback flankers. Okay, and I consider Jordan Dawson to be elite. Okay, he's definitely one of the elite kicks in the competition. And Brody Smith's a former All-Australian across half-back. And if the Crows, not if they win the ball from the centre square, which they're really strong at, in all those last 5 games, they've only lost the clearances out of the middle once. And I think that may have been against Melbourne, in the loss against Melbourne. Every other game, so Sydney last week, they won 12-17, lost by 33 points. Collingwood, they've smashed the Pies 14-9 out of the middle. Against the Hawks, they won 11-10 out of the middle. Only lost 12-14 against Melbourne, and they beat North by 13-9. Okay, so they're a good clearance team. Okay, and they like to move the ball quite quickly. Low possession football team, get it in their front half and try and score, and obviously lock it in. However, they are ranked number 1 in the competition for tackles, and they've got some big bull. I'm not going to say they're big, but they've got some bulls in there who are number 1 and 2 tacklers in the competition in Rory Laird and Sam Berry. Now, Sam Berry's coming. I'm not quite sure if he's coming with a rush, but he was outstanding against Sydney last week, and he's building some significant form. Okay, and he can play. All right, so if we think we're just going to roll around with our midfield, okay, Walsh and Cripper and Hewitt won't be back in there, but whoever else is in there, Chera, Fisher might go through there as well. Kennedy, if we think it's going to be a walk in the park in that regard, we've got another thing coming, because these boys, Laird can not only win the ball, Berry's a good ball winner as well, are tackling machines. Okay? And throw in that other dude that used to play at the Brisbane Lions, Keys. They are workmanlike. They want to roll their sleeves up and get to work. They're not fancy in the midfield, and they've got one of the hardest working ruckmen in the competition, and that is Riley O'Brien, who's ranked number 3 in the comp for hit-outs. And that's why I think we'll pull the trigger this week and play Pitnet. It's a fascinating one. It really is, because it then... I'm under the belief that TDK has really grown. But I'm also just a little bit worried that possibly the inconsistency of the midfield has been around the fact that the Pitnet hasn't been there. Whether Pitnet is a good enough ruckman now, wins enough ball around the ground, is another thing. But if Pitnet comes in, he's playing big ruck time, because really he can do fuck all else. All right, he's not going forward. All right, so it concerns me a little bit what happens to TDK. Well, when I say concerns me, it fascinates me what happens to TDK. Because if we went back to before Pitnet went down, TDK was in pretty crap form. It worked for the first 2 weeks, but it didn't, I think, work because of TDK, although he may have provided something different in our front half and caused an extraordinarily difficult matchup. Okay, in regards to they have to play a tall defender on him with Charlie and Harry. That makes it very hard. But then it stops how much pressure you want to apply in your front or inside forward 50, because you're probably going to have to play Jack as well. So you play two smalls. So I'm looking forward to it. I just feel this week the Crows are a good clearance team, particularly out of the middle. And it's been an inconsistency of theirs, as I mentioned, for a while now. We need to somehow get that back. I don't want that to be our one wood. Isn't that an awful term? I don't want it just have to be, okay, clearance out of the middle or nothing else, because I want to be able to be a team a little bit like what Richmond were able to do, okay? Be confident enough that even Geelong to lose the clearance, but be really confident to win the ball back and set up really well behind the ball. And I think the fact that we're a high possession football team helps our back six to set up. All right, so I mentioned the fact that we want to control the tempo of the game, but when do we pull the trigger? I'd like to see us go a little bit quicker, and I'd like to fix up that synergy inside forward 50. And there's a lot of things I'd like to fix up in that regard. Our small forwards, are they ready to explode, or is that it? Is it just a combination of just really, really rabid defensive acts, and that's going to be enough? And that's really all they're measured on? Do we want to see them hit the scoreboard more? Fascinating. And the other one, obviously, is Marchie. Played one game, Caleb Marchbank, that is, one game in the VFL last week. And then who does he replace? And you know I'm not a Lockie Plowman fan. You know that. But I'm not here to stick the boots into Lockie Plowman. In fact, it's anything but. I had an interesting message off a journalist who follows Carlton. I won't mention his name, but it was a great message in regards to Lockie Plowman and what he does. And he basically told me that he pretty much just watched Lockie Plowman. He was there live at the game. He just pretty much watched him for the whole game to see exactly what he does. And we know last week he didn't play on Toby Green, but the amount of work that Lockie Plowman does in regards to his voice and his leadership down there, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work right here, right now, if Plowman's dropped and it's Marchbank, McGovern. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I can see the pluses of a Marchbank because he's an extremely talented footballer. But what do you lose? What do you lose leadership-wise and stability-wise by potentially dropping a Lockie Plowman? It's fucking a head-scratcher. Weeders and Walsh under a little bit of a cloud with some injuries. Expect both to play. And then you've got no one really dominated for us in the reserves last week. I watched that game and they were good. They were okay. Stocker, thought Durden was okay, and that's the big Durden who we picked up in the mid-season draft. Dow was serviceable, 20-odd touches and a couple of goals. But I can't see many changes made other than potentially Pitnet coming in. And is that for a small? Does Motlop now be rested? He's been pretty quiet for a couple of weeks now. So is it just Pitnet that comes in? Or are we going to go, well, we need to bring Marchbank in now? It's a fucking big risk to bring him in against the Brisbane Lions, isn't it? I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. Adelaide, question marks on McAdam, subbed out last week with a cork thigh, and apparently it's a really bad cork thigh. It's not like a Jacob Wiedering cork thigh. This is one that really bled. So I don't reckon he will play, and he was really good. And one thing we do sometimes struggle is not so much the small forward, but the hybrid forward. And a lot of teams do. And he was actually okay against us the first time we played him. They reckon they might get Josh Rochelli back. He played against us last time, but he is a Adelaide Oval specialist. But he has missed the last 3 weeks with a hip injury. Hopefully he's a little bit sore. We weren't going to see Matt Crouch again, I don't think. It's been reported today that he's gone. He's gone. He was a late withdrawal from the sample last week with some type of injury, but I get the impression he just pulled himself out. He's not going to be at the club next year. So I don't think he'll play. It was reported yesterday or this morning that Tom Duday, key defender, who hasn't been playing that well, won't play either. So that, I suppose, helps us. They're one short down back. And we talk about our outs, and we've had some significant outs this year, but when the whips get cracking, Rory Sloan, man, you know, he's the spiritual leader of that football club. He's the one, you know, like, and I know Tex is there, and Tex is playing pretty good football, and they've got a relatively good forward line if they've got enough supply. But he's the one. He's the one, Rory Sloan, out, you know, obviously with an ACL, it's disappointing for them. And when you miss your skipper for a large period of time, you know, like someone with a lot of experience, it would hurt them. And the other one, Seedsman, who are really great. But they have, as I mentioned, the two. And we have struggled, guys. You know that. We've spoken about that. We've struggled against flying halfback flankers who love to run and take you on and get up the ground. We've seen it all year. So who goes to Jordan Dawson? Who goes to Brodie Smith? I'm looking forward to this, guys. I really am. I think Adelaide might have a bit of a sniff in their nostril. They see this one, do a little bit of damage to us, get another one on the board. You know, as I mentioned, I rate Matthew Nicks. Tell us what you feel. That's a long preview, 27 minutes. Catch you later.